Hello, everyone. My name is Mario A. Reed, and I am the managing law partner for the Lumarti Law Group, also known as the Law Offices of Mario A. Reed, the Education Esquire. So I'm doing this video on this evening because I've had a lot of people reach out and ask me about those YieldMax funds. And I have to stress to everyone that I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. I do not have any credentials for financial advice. However, I am someone who really enjoys learning about new things, including money making opportunities, also called investment opportunities. So, because of that, I want to do this very quick video. My goal is to make it where it's quick so it won't take long. So, I'm going to share my screen and I want for everyone to take a look at a investment opportunity which is called YieldMax. So, there's a financial company named YieldMax, and YieldMax is a company that trades stock options. They trade these stock options based on a variety of different stocks. It could be Palantir, it could be Nvidia. So I'm going to go to the page of yieldmaxetfs.com. This is the website for YieldMax. YieldMax. And I want to stress, I'm not in any way, shape, or form endorsing or encouraging anyone to go and invest in YieldMax. However, what I am doing is making sure that anybody who's curious about it has a very quick way to find out about this information. So once at the page of YieldMax, you can then click on where it says YieldMax ETFs in the top left-hand corner, which has a triangle. It'll take you to this screen, and then you can click on where it says announcing new distribution schedules. Click here. When you click on that link, it'll bring you to another page which will show you the distributions for the remainder of this year, 2025, even somewhat into 2026, I believe. Yep, January 2nd. What it is that you're scrolling to is the groups, as well as the individual funds. ETF is an acronym for Exchange Traded Fund, which is a collection of stocks. Instead of just purchasing NVIDIA, which has a stock symbol of NVDA, you can get a collection of stocks. In this case, that's part of a dividend paying, high income, high yield income dividend paying funds. So right now there's over 55 different funds which are available. I'm going to increase the size of the screen to make it even easier to see it. This column has weekly payers. It's exactly what it sounds like. You're going to receive a dividend payment every single week. Then you have Group A, Group B, Group C, and Group D. These groups are monthly payers, so they only pay a dividend once a month. For those who don't know, a dividend is essentially a cash payment that a company will or a stock will provide to its shareholders. It's typically done as a way to thank their shareholders for being shareholders. Most stocks, Coca-Cola, Home Depot, Texas Instruments, they have very small dividend yields in comparison to these high yields. Coca-Cola, Home Depot, their dividend may be 2% or 3% or 4%, whereas these dividend paying stocks oftentimes are above 50% with an annual yield. Now, there are lots of reasons why that is, one of which is that the stock price consistently goes down for some of these stocks. So you're getting a cash payment in place of the value of your stock. I don't have time to go through what's called NAV erosion, net asset value erosion, but that's what that translates to. And getting back to these, Group A is the first week, Group B is the second week, Group C is the third week, and Group D is the fourth week. And then it loops back around to Group A. What you have the opportunity to do, and one of the things that I've done is I've purchased a fund or funds from Group A, Group B, Group C, and Group D. By doing so, I now get my dividend payouts every single week. However, they are a larger payment amount because the groups A, B, C, and D, they're only paying 13 times a year. That's because there's every 4 weeks and there's 52 weeks in a year, not 48. By setting it up this way, I see larger dividend payments, but still on a weekly basis. In order to take advantage of these high yield dividend income paying funds, you need to have a brokerage account. And it can't just be any brokerage account. It has to be a brokerage account which makes these funds available. Unfortunately, not all brokerage accounts make the funds available. So you can go up to the top of the screen where it says buy our ETFs. And when you do so, you can then take a look at the different brokerage companies that make these funds available. One of which is Robinhood, another of which is Charles Schwab, E-Trade, Webull, Ameritrade, Fidelity Investments, Interactive Brokers, Sogo Trade, and I believe I covered them all. These are in Publix as well. These are several of the brokerage companies that allow you to purchase these funds. These high yield dividend paying funds pay out a dividend based on how many shares you have. How you can find out how much they're going to pay on any given week is simply by going to Google and then typing in SMCY dividend announcement for 2025. And if you have a different fund, you just type in the stock symbol for that fund. This announcement typically posts each Wednesday at 5:50 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can then go to this page of Globe News Wire, and I'm going to go back because I didn't point that out. You're looking for Globe News Wire, and you're looking for it on the date that it has been published, which is the Wednesday of each week. Once there, you're then going to click on that hyperlink, and then you can scroll through the chart, which outlines what the dividend payout is going to be for that week. This posts every Wednesday, typically at 5:50 a.m. You then still have the opportunity to go and purchase any of these funds by 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. You need to check with your brokerage to make sure as to the exact time, but typically with Robinhood, you have at least until 3 p.m. Wednesday. And then, so long as you've purchased it by 3 p.m. on that Wednesday, you will receive a dividend payout the following Friday. It typically deposits into your account as late as 10 p.m. on Friday evening. So as an example, if you were to purchase 10 shares of SMCY, it is going to pay out a dividend of $1.85 per share. So you would then end up getting you would get $18.51. Please excuse my public school education math. $18.51 is what you would receive. Now, so that you're aware, on typically the Thursday following the announcement of these dividends, SMCY's share price is going to drop by at least $1.85. So if you were thinking about purchasing it and then selling it immediately, it's going to be a wash. So you didn't really gain anything. Where the value comes in is that typically if you hold on to the stock for an extended period of time, and even better, if you use some of those dividends to purchase more shares, then it's going to increase your dividend payout consistently. MSTY is one of their oldest funds. It's also one of their best performing funds. It's been around for over 2 years. So there's a lot of data available for people who want to know how legitimate is something like this. I'm going to now bring up a chart, an Excel spreadsheet, which was created by one of the Knowledge Movement members. Shout out to Mr. Williamson. And this is something that allows for individuals to be able to see exactly what the potential is that exists with these high yield dividend income paying funds. I'm going to repeat, none of this is financial advice. It's just information. Do with it as you see fit. You're not going to be able to go online and find a chart or a spreadsheet that does the computations like what I'm about to show you. That's something which is the magical work of Mr. Williamson. Again, many thanks to you, Mr. Williamson, for creating this incredible chart, which helps explain this far better than I could ever do so without this resource. So this is MSTY, which is part of Group D. Had someone had have taken $25,000 and purchased $25,000 worth of shares of MSTY back on July 5th of 2024, At the time, it was trading for a share price of $24.59. That would have resulted in 1,016.67 shares, not dollars, but shares. That following week, MSTY had a dividend payout of $2.33 per share, which resulted in $2,370.88 in dividends. Those dividend payouts hit the brokerage account, and then it's up to the individual to decide what it is that they do with that cash payout. Well, in this case, for this example, we're simply going to reinvest the dividends. Most brokerage accounts give you an option to do what's called dividend reinvestment program. So you click that box, and then the dividends will automatically be used to purchase more shares. We're going to do this over the course of 1 year. So in this scenario, each and every month when you get a dividend payout, you take those dividends and use them to purchase more shares. Next month, in August, there was a dividend payout of $2,145.42, $2,222.77 in the month of September, and then it continues. You'll see that the dividend payouts go up, they sometimes go down, but each month you're getting a payout. It might not be $5,800 like it was in April of this year, but you're still getting a dividend payout. We continued to do this over the course of an entire year, and it resulted in having a total of, well, it would be the 2,888.13, and that was received, and that led to a dividend payout of 3,576.08 in the month of June. No, I'm sorry, it would have been in the month of June. Nope, it would have been in the month of July because the payout came the first week of June. So then that payout would have happened essentially in the month of July. So now you've got another 3,576.08, and I'm going to quickly find out when that payout was, and I'm going to bring it up so that you can see what it looks like and know how it is that this process works for yourself. So all I'm going to do is go to Google, and I'm going to type in MSTY dividend history. So that way we can go to stock analysis, which is the website, and then we can look at when was the payment for July. So that first week payment, $1.23. So there it is, $1.23. It was paid July 7th. Here's the information here. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take a look and see how much was MSTY, stock performance, trading for on July, after July 7th. So we're going to go and we're going to look at the last month, and then we're going to go to the date following succeeding July 7th. That date would have been so the payout was July 7th. So we'll use the next day, July 8th, which was $20.77 per share. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our Excel spreadsheet, which shows our payout. And again, this Excel spreadsheet is not something you can find online. This was created by one of the Knowledge Movement members. In his own personal free time, he created this incredible spreadsheet that allows for us to see these computations in warp speed. So the 3576.08 was the payout. I'm going to just pull up a calculator and do 3576.08, divide that by $20.77, and that would have resulted in another 172.17 shares. I would then add that to my existing share count, which is 2,888.13. I'm going to hover over that here so everybody knows where I'm getting that number from. And now our share count is up to 3,060.30 shares. As it turns out, we're due to get another dividend payout this Friday for MSTY, but I'm not going to include that. I'm just going to go with the shares we already have, the 3,060.30, and then I'm just going to multiply that by the current share price, where as of right now, The current share price is $19.50. So again, that share price has declined, and as a result, it's down to $19.50. But I'm going to take the 3,060.30 shares, and I'm going to multiply our total share count number by $19.50 per share. That results in a new portfolio value of $59,675.95. Remember, we started with $25,000 on July 5th of 2024. It is now July 31st of 2025, so approximately 1 year later, and we have more than doubled the investment. You did not have to contribute any additional capital. You simply allowed for the dividends to build your portfolio's value. A lot of people will say, but what about the taxes? Yes, there will be taxes, but it's no different than when you go and work a job. No one ever asks, what about the taxes when you announce on Facebook that you got a new job? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me why you would instantly go to that when you're getting money for doing nothing. If you go work a job, you pay income taxes. So the fact that you're getting this money and not having to work a job would in no way, shape, or form change the fact that there's still income tax liability unless you're doing this through an individual retirement account. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a tax preparer. I'm not a certified public accountant. I'm simply somebody who wants to share this information. There are several other funds which are available that actually provide a better and more lucrative return than MSTY, one of which is currently HOOY, which is for Robinhood as the underlying stock. How these funds work is that they're trading stock options, and as the funds make money, the Security Exchange Commission requires that they have to pay out 90% of the funds and the money that they're making. That gives you an idea of just how much money these funds are making. As one last item, lots of people say, well, what if YieldMax goes out of business? That is a possibility. And because this is a stock, there is always a risk of loss which is available. However, remember, these funds are trading stock options on the largest companies in the world. MSTY is the fund for MSTR MicroStrategy. There are funds for NVIDIA, Apple, Google, Tesla, Robinhood, Roblox, and any number of different funds. If the underlying stock, such as NVIDIA, such as Palantir, is still in business, then YieldMax can still continue to trade stock options on it. So the likelihood that YieldMax is going to go out of business when their business is to trade stock options on these underlying funds doesn't really seem to be all that likely. But it is a possibility, just like the apocalypse or the rapture is. One of the key aspects to keep in mind is that if you decide to pursue this route, you want to make sure that you have the brokerage account set up in the name of hopefully a revocable living trust. That is the legal aspect of it, something that I do for a living and do have a license to speak on. Every single adult over the age of 18 should have a revocable living trust. That's the kind that allows you to change your mind. You also have the luxury and the opportunity to open up a brokerage account in the name of that trust. You can do so online fully with Charles Schwab. Again, I am not endorsing or in any way, shape, or form recommending Charles Schwab, but I am pointing out that you can open up a brokerage account in the name of your trust completely online with Charles Schwab, which is something that I found to be convenient. If by chance you already have a brokerage account, then your beneficiary should be the trust if the brokerage account is in your name. And again, I am an attorney, and that is something that I do for a living, which is estate planning. Above all else, I hope that you found this information to be educational and informational. It is purely for education and entertainment. It is in no way, shape, or form financial advice. If by chance you yet have questions, I welcome and encourage you to come out to the many workshops that we do around the Chicagoland area, which are known as the Knowledge Movement sessions. You're also welcome to follow me on Facebook at Mario A. Reed, or you can follow our YouTube page, which is the Law Offices of Mario A. Reed. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you found this information to be helpful, beneficial, and you take advantage. But if not, I'm glad that you just watched and got some additional information. Everyone have a great one. Take care, and hopefully you found this to be beneficial. Take care.